Hello, hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey,
Hello.
everything's okay with the audio?
Ah, good. Yep, hanging in there.
Yeah, okay. So let's start. Okay, let's start with the fact that recently the music world lost Ace from Kiss, and you once mentioned that it was the Kiss album Alive that made you want to perform on stage. So, what was so unique in his playing? Did you ever have the opportunity to meet him in person?
I never met him actually in person, but I was actually there when he had his hands inlaid into the Guitar Center, like when he put like Guitar Center here in Hollywood. I was formally invited to that, and I saw him from a distance, but there was just so many people going crazy. But I was invited to that, and they also did Eric Carr that day posthumously. But I was playing as far as that, that was like the first, real like heavy rock guitar I heard. So it's like your first language you learn, and basically, even when all the reviews started coming out and all the tributes, I realized how much I could actually still sing his solos in my head and hear them. Like a live one was just so imprinted in my head and his style. You could sing his solos and they fit the songs perfectly. He always played for the song, so I always dug that. So that was a big imprint on me is how I went forward, modeling myself as a guitar player.
And on the debut album of your new band, we can clearly hear that the heavy metal runs through your veins. After
Yeah.
all, in 2000, in 1987, you were a member of a band that gave us classic album Triumph of Agony. So, how do you look back on your years with Warlock, and why did this adventure last so short?
Well, Warlock, I'm very proud of everything I did with Warlock. That's like, that was like the first time really, stepping into the world as far as getting the biggest gig I had. Before that, I was in a band called Armed Forces, which had some attention. But with Warlock, it was just like, the perfect timing. I was in New York. Doro had started working with her producer, Joey Bowen, who was also producing my band. And then just like the chemistry, electricity, just clicked together. So I'm extremely proud of all this stuff. And then as far as why it lasted so short, I mean, it was the biggest impacted album that Warlock did. Triumph and Agony is the biggest one that everything became judged from, and I'm proud of that because there's some great songs. I guess at that point, that's just a lot of the music business talk. You always hear the story. Too many cooks in the kitchen, this, that, the other thing. Next thing you know, it's like, what the heck happened? It's just like one of those things that just happens when too many people start talking about the same thing at the same time. But coming back playing with the past time was great. Doing Triumph and Agony live and all that because it was great to play all those songs again.
Marcus, want to say something?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, before you're going into details, Tomasz, great to meet you. And I just want to let you know because I'm jumping off, but I will come back to you for the banners and everything what we can do for your great MetalSide.pl website and everything what we can do on the collaboration. We have a lot of great ideas for the Polish market, and maybe you can be our partner on that as well. But I will let you know, and maybe we are doing a separate call, sending you an email, but just wanted to say hello. Yeah. And so that everything works. Cool that you're doing the video. Enjoy the time with Tommy. And
Yeah,
I'm jumping off
I've
into
got
the
your
next.
WhatsApp number on my phone, so we're gonna get in touch.
Yeah, amazing. Wonderful. Tommy, see you soon.
Yeah.
All right,
Have a
Mark.
great
Talk to you
day.
later. All right.
Amazing. Bye-bye.
Okay. So with the Dora back again. After many years, you've got this little reunion with her. So how did this happen?
Well, about like 2015, she had played some shows like in Los Angeles. I just jumped up like at the Whiskey. I jumped up in Anaheim, and you could still feel the chemistry and the fan reaction. Because some people, really love this record. Which I'm of course happy about. And you could just see it. I mean, even when I was walking through the crowd and people talking to me, I hadn't seen, I hadn't heard the Warlock name in years in that fashion. And then there was just some chemistry. Then with the 30th anniversary of the album coming up, she just called me up and said, "Hey, give me a call. I got an idea." And next thing I'm playing Sweden rock and I'm playing Norway rock. Then I did some American tour dates. Then I played on Forever Warriors and I started playing, Wacken and this that came in, because she has already an established band, that's all set and they rock. So it was just great to just jump in on the select dates, and then Triumph and Agony Live came out. So it was kind of like I came in like like the veteran kind of thing, so to speak, and the fans dug it. But from the reaction reviews I saw, which it was great, because obviously, to get their reaction of such a positive nature and hear them, singing these songs. Like even when we came back and played Sweden rock, Triumph and Agony Live had never been played in its entirety. So so that we played songs that had never been played live. And for some fans, I mean, I met some fans, you know, I even when we did the Monster Rock after, they were really emotional about it because this album had meant so much to them, which, you know, I'm just like, you know, beyond humbled by that. You know, I mean, I'm glad that it meant that much to me. I think of albums I loved so much, you know, and I'm not even comparing myself to those people. I'm just saying I know what it's like to bond to a record and really, you know, wear the grooves out of it and know every pick scratch and guitar scream and everything. So it was great going back playing. Yeah, it was good times.
And your new album is a debut album of N.Y.C. Band. What is the story behind the previous band of the same name? Because we had the album Zico featuring Chas Peace and
Ah,
Pierre,
check
and even we
the
have
man.
a
The
EP.
man's done his homework. The man knows. Okay, we have an informed custom here. N.Y.C. is a band I started. You know, I've always had this project. You know, I started it, and there's been some different variations of it and different type of stuff. So Zyko was an album from years ago I did, but this version now is a different. I mean, just a different genre, different energy, I should say. You know, I'm proud of anything I've ever done. If I put it out, I'm proud of it. I don't put out stuff I don't like. I'm not just, you know, looking for a cash grab or bullshit like that. I gotta like it. You know, this, you know, when I got busy playing the album you're talking about, then, you know, a lot of stuff was going on in my life, and then N.Y.C. went through some changes as far as that. Then I started playing with Richie Ramone from the Ramones. Then I had some other personal stuff in my life. Then suddenly I came back with Doro, and then I had some other side projects. And then when this came the opportunity to work with Marcus, who you just spoke to, my manager, you know, he actually put the machine behind it and let me drive it, you know, and actually, you know, provided a lot of the angles that were necessary to do it at this level. And then I already was friends with Stead Howland and Steve Unger, the rhythm section from Hell. So that just because we had toured, Warlock toured with Metal Church. So kind of that kind of brought it together. That rekindled my friendship with Stead and Steve and all that. So like next time I'm saying, hey, I got this thing going on. Let me call you. And I called them in. Next thing you know, we rehearsed for 2 days, 3 days, and did the album. And boom, the fucking thing exploded. And then I'm like, wow, this is some good shit. You know, I like it. You know, then Marcus liked it even more. And you know, he has Adrenalizing Media, and with this company behind me, it gave me the ability to produce the record, write the record, and do it in a great studio with, you know, a great engineer, Kenny Meredith, Robert Vosgin, Massad. I'm dropping names all over the place. You'll need a broom in a few minutes here. But no, seriously. So this, you know, it actually gave a whole new life to it, you know, and it just came in at the perfect time in my life. So this is, N.Y.C. I guess is me in that regard as far as the name and starting it, but the energy behind it, you know, the 3-piece I have now is like, you know, the rhythm section from Hell, Stet and Steve are fucking great. So I'm psyched to bring this live, really psyched.
And with this previous incarnation, you played something like a mix between White Zombie or Fear Factory. Where does this interest in the more industrial side of metal came from? Which bands inspired this musical adventure?
Well, I've always liked the bands you just mentioned. I mean, you know, that industrial. I love everything. I used to be a guitar teacher, so I would have students come in and they bring in anything from a Slayer record to the Everly Brothers. So I figured out by ear and I teach it to them. So, and the way I learned, I just, you know, I absorbed so much music at first, and then within 2.5 years of taking lessons, I became a teacher. So I listen to all genres of music, whether it can be anything from pop to the heaviest metal to industrial. If it influences me and touches me and moves me, or the groove or the rhythm, I remember it filters into me. Then you put it all in a blender, hit puree, forget it all, and then do your own thing. You know, that's kind of what you want to do. You know, so then that's just like a natural evolution of the band. You know, when you heard that other record, it was like, you know, more of you know, an industrial thing, which I do dig. And even, you know, I was even out once with Ministry as a fill-in at the request of Al Jorgensen and Angie J when Tommy Victor had gotten hurt, and I spent a week on tour with them because they weren't sure if he could take the stage. Then a week later, the bass player was Tony Campbell. He was playing with them. This is like their See You Later tour, and I was in the middle of doing my own thing, and then they called me and said, "Hey, Tony's got some issue, whatever." And I said, "Well, I don't play bass, but I would for Al if he asked." I spent another week on the road with Ministry. You know, so I spent 2 weeks on the road with Ministry. It was great because they're great guys. I had a lot of fun. I didn't play with them, but I was there because they weren't sure who was getting sick or falling down a flight of stairs or whatever. You know, so music, if it's groove and it's heavy, it's all in my blood. You know, because I go on stage, my eyes roll back in my head, and I forget everything, just become a fucking maniac. So it all works out in the end, you know.
And how did you end up helping a punk rock legend? Because after all, you also had an adventure with the Ramones drummer.
Richie Ramone, yeah, Richie's a great drummer. He's a cool dude. I mean, had a friend of mine named Gypsy. This guy was like a good friend of mine, Gypsy Nagy, out of Arizona. Was friends with him, and Richie was, this was his comeback record. He hadn't done anything for like fucking years, and he wanted to do something. And Gypsy goes, "Look, you got to talk to Tommy Bolan." And Richie lives like the next town or two over from me. So Gypsy kept talking about it. So I called Richie. We spoke. Went down there, jammed. He had a studio at his house. And the energy just clicked. Then he bought in. He already had Jiro Okabe, who's one of my best friends, who actually, played bass on one of the songs of this record on N.Y.C. on one song in particular. And he was already part of the band, and so it was a three-piece. And he had been in like a band, what the fuck was the name? I forget the damn name. But if you ever see the movie Lethal Weapon, it's his band playing in the bar. It's him. But so he had a great band, three-piece. So next thing you know, we started doing the record. We recorded in Nashville. Mark Needham engineered it. And we played, the big show we did was Stonefest in Australia with us, Van Halen, and Aerosmith, and Kings of Chaos, and all this, and Buckcherry. And we did some shows at them, played South America. And it was great. I mean, I sang a lot of the Ramones songs live, like Let's Big Bob, Warthog, Animal Boy. So I was like losing my fucking mind doing it. And, and then Richie would come out and sing vocals. And he had this guy, Ben, would jump on drums occasionally, and then all I played rhythm guitar. So it was a trip, man. I just met him, then we just clicked, and then we did the album Entitled, which is a different type of playing, but still I got to go fucking crazy. And live, I always got let off the leash and did a solo and shit. So it was a lot of fun, but then it just ran its course. And he actually just posted something about my single on my page. He put, great song, Tommy. Congratulations on the album. So I wish him the best. I mean, it is what it is. It was great playing with him. Then you throw in some business, and too much business fucks all the music up all the time. That's the biggest problem. It's too bad you just can't show up with a fucking, a keg, some shots, turn on the fucking amps, play, and it always goes that easy. But once you put in managers, money, bullshit, it's fucking nuts, But what are you gonna do,
And what is the story behind Chris Holmes' song "Playing with Fire"?
Good God, that's great that you've done that. You really fucking, you got my pin number. What do you got next? Chris is a friend of mine. I've known him for years. I remember meeting him back when Warlock played in Los Angeles. Then I had a band called Freight Train Jane, which he was friends with my old singer Jamie. He came to some of our shows, and then we ran into him at Norway Rock. At the gas station, which I just saw the other day. He was at a gas station and ran into Glenn Hughes. So he's always at gas stations running into people. But he's a great guy, and his wife Sarah, great manager, great person. So we started talking about. Then during COVID, we would talk more. And then he said, "Hey, I got this song if you could sing on." And he said to me, and I said, "Hey, this is a cool riff," because I like Chris. I always see his guitar. He has that really fucked up guitar. I remember holding it going, "How the fuck does this even work?" You just like leave this under a river, but it's hilarious because it looks it's so fucked up. It's cool. But yeah, so he called me up and asked if I would sing on it. I think he had Steve Grimmett and some other guy who I think from England who really could sing really cool. I remember I liked that. And I just went on there and just screamed and barked, and it was cool, and it was a good song. He's a friend of mine, personal friend.
And like you mentioned before, Kenny Meredith handled the mixing of the new album, while Robert Vosgian was responsible for mastering. So why did you choose them in particular?
Well, Kenny was, Marcus, my manager, he has a company called N.Y.C Media, which has like this whole film company, and he's got this film called N.R.C, which I'm involved in the soundtrack, and I'm actually, and I have there's a comic book that ties that. And Kenny, he's done a lot of soundtrack work because he worked with Vince Nicole and all that, and he was already working with Marcus. So Marcus said, "Look, I got this engineer you need to meet, this guy." And I met Kenny, went to his studio, talked some shop, and he's like the coolest fucking guy in the world, and very easy to work with because when you can sit there and work yourself into a full lather in the studio and get going, and he's catching it, and he's already answering the questions, or he knows the next question I'm going to ask, you start rolling, you start fucking kicking ass. And Robert literally, works a lot with Kenny. And of course, Robert's resume is, kick ass like Kenny's, just like Slayer, Alice Cooper, and Bush, and like forget about everybody. Megadeth. He's done everything. He's not even done Megadeth. Anyway, Alice Cooper, and his studio is right across the hall, so he's right there. But that was just a luck of the draw because obviously his credentials, regardless, he lived on the moon, to be worth going to. So that was just like chemistry, and Adrenalizing Media already had that in place for me to, just the parties. Hey, go check that out if you like it. We'll use this. And I said, yeah, that guy's fucking cool, and now we're actually friends, from hanging out. So it's good shit. And he's a player, guitar player himself. So he had like 40 fucking guitars up there. And so I was digging the whole attitude. We could speak the language because some people, if they don't play or whatever, it's not as intuitive, when you're going at it. So he got my insanity. He figured me out. We worked well together. A lot of late nights doing shit, but it was good because once we recorded the record, the band went home and it was just me going in, doing all the guitar tracks, the vocals, and producing it. Once Stetton and Steve laid down the thunder, then I fucking harnessed the lightning. That's a quote, huh? So anyway, there you go.
And you only get one chance to make a good first impression. So
Correct.
did you think long and hard about which song should be the first single, or was Heavy as Hell like this obvious choice?
Well, Heavy as Hell, just like the whole track, the way the record actually plays, I actually created that track list, which it just seemed to flow nice. Heavy as Hell just seemed naturally like the first single. It just seemed like that because it caught the energy of the band. It caught the type of vocal style I have. You had some shredding. It had everything. It had all the major food groups, so it just felt natural to me. I mean, to me, I think the whole fucking record could be singles, but I'm biased, I suppose. I just hope people dig it, connect with it, and like it. So we have another single. We did the other single, Built to Destroy, and we have another single coming out video on the 7th, Lion Eyes, because pre-sale starts on Friday. Then the video, then the pre-sale digital, then the album gets released the 14th. Then we have then after that, shortly after that, be like vinyl and CD and all that madness.
And with the second single promoting the album, you return to the good old days when Muscular Heroes defeated hordes of enemies with one hand. So will those days ever return, or?
Well, to me, I hope whatever track I'm going down, I hope that returns. I hope that the doors get open for where I'm going and doing stuff. I think there's always a lot of energy in music if it moves people. So there's so many names and subgenres. Like what is it? Rock, metal, degen, mount, goth, whatever. There's a million fucking titles. Me, I just get up there, turn everything on the fucking 10 and blow everything up, and then pretty much it's just the energy. I think the energy is always there. I guess to answer your question, long-winded here, the energy is there. I think the energy never left, and it'll only get stronger as more bands get out there. Because obviously the record industry is in a fucking mess right now. No doubt. But nonetheless, I think as long as you're putting out the energy, and if it gets the chance to be put in front of people, I think the response should be it'll start coming back towards you. And that's just that matches the gasoline. Boom.
And what do you think about the current state of like heavy metal genre? Because your new album is very riff driven. Every riff in every song just stuck into your head, and with many other bands, the guitars are watered down. They just do something in the background.
Yeah, I appreciate. Thank you. I'm glad the riffs are sticking in your head. That's a good start. Yeah, I'm not for the watered down guitar part. I've been in situations where suddenly the guitar is like, okay, is it on? Is it there? Well, obviously being the singer of the band, the guitar player of the band, riffs are in my blood. That's why people have described this record as like the power of AC/DC. No, excuse me, the energy of AC/DC with the power of Priest with the grit of Motorhead. So it's like one big mess. I mean, it's N.Y.C. to me, but people have been asking me, what do you sound like? But riffs to me are always essential. The songs or the guitar is always going to be a dominant force, but I don't mind it taking a back seat when it needs to. But for the most part, that's just the way I play. I just if you haven't figured by now, I'm a pretty over caffeinated New Yorker. So naturally, I'm going to get up there and start fucking freaking out. So the guitar's got to be doing something. I'm never just phoning it in like three. I mean, so the songs, yeah, I think riffs are critical for me. When I can build a whole song around a riff. You give me 3 points or something, give me the I write the lyrics too. So I'm always writing something. And the riff's always there. I'm constantly creating. I got probably another 2 albums with the material ready to go if I needed to. So yeah, the riff is the big thing for me, I guess. Because let's face it, when you first start playing guitar, what do? You learn a riff. You learn a riff. You learn how to play, fucking this song or that song, Black Dog or an Anthrax song or something. Whatever the kids learning, whatever you're learning, the riff sticks with you. But for me, my music, yeah, it'll be riff driven. So people can sing along and feel the energy. Whether you're playing air guitar, fist in the air, or just fucking feeling the vibe, because we have like slower songs as well on there. But I like that. You remember the riff. All right, well, quote yourself. Bingo.
And Vince DiCola, composer known for the films Rocky IV and animated Transformers, the movie, make a guest appearance on the new album. So, what did he contribute musically to build
Yeah,
this?
he's a really cool dude, and obviously, his history. He's done with what the movies just said, Rocky and Transformers, Staying Alive. He works with Kenny Meredith a lot. I think they do stuff together. As far as for soundtracks and scores and all that. And he's the coolest guy. And I had this song Gasoline, which was acoustic. I go, it needs something. I said, this would be a really good song to maybe bring him in, see what he can do. So the song was already done. So he came down, and he's a great player. So he came down and started playing some piano piece to it. He started doing some riffing to it. Then he brought out the keyboard, something that sounded like fucking like old rainbow tones, like rainbows, like Stargazer or fucking like that big ass synth in that Heart song, Magic Man. And I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking what it needs. And he just started doing the shit. Then he did the digital percussion. So he just went fucking wild. He says, you like this? Yeah, keep doing that. Then it just, so I had the whole song done. He just added exactly what was needed and made the song one of my favorite songs on the record, which a lot of people are going, wow, that's totally different. Because, the song Gasoline, which he played on, is actually about, if you ever saw that movie with Farrah Fawcett, Burning Bed, the one where she is really abided wife from this horrible man. And eventually, as the song says, temporary insanity, she just finally, after being tortured, loses it and pours gasoline on the guy while he's sleeping and burns it alive, burns the house down because she lost her mind. Because if you saw the movie impacted me so much, I wrote those lyrics a long time ago. And then when that song came together with the riff, I just got an Ovation 12 string, really nice, that Ovation gave me. And it just came to me out of nowhere. And then I started putting it together. And then I guess, answering your question, then Kenny said, hey, let's bring in Vince. And I know Marcus was down for that because Vince was going to do stuff with N.Y.C. That's Marcus's movie that he has coming out with his company. So it was just like, bringing in part of the family. And I love what he did. So there's my answer 20 minutes later.
I must admit that the Gasoline is also my favorite track from the album.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that song, it just, because then it gets heavier and gets more intense as it becomes. Then 1 minute I'm singing, next minute I'm screaming my guts out, and he did some really cool fucking shit on that, And so yeah, that's one of my favorite songs. I hope that's like one of those songs that just pops out, and you never know because you can put out your singles, but what people latch onto a radio, and we got radio people doing this shit. So I'm down for anything, man. There's 13 songs there, lucky number, So because I'm born on the 13th, so September, so it works out all right. So pick any song you like, get behind it. Works for me.
The new album is a powerful, uncompromising heavy metal. So what is the story behind the song Central Park?
Central Park. Well, I'm from New York, if you haven't figured it out by now, And that was just I had that acoustic idea. That's another one I played on my Ovation nylon string. I'm dropping hints here what I use. But seriously, that was just a song I always had that riff, and I always liked it, and it just stuck with me, that piece. And then Central Park, that's a big place in New York, which I've been to many, many times. And it just seemed like the thing. Then you hear the police sirens, the rain, and the song just came together, and I did it like 1 or 2 takes. And it just was something I wanted to put on the record because the record to me grows and it goes through waves. That's why after Central Park, the song Fight comes up, and before that's Let's Roll after the ballad Lion Eye. So the actual song is, I look at the track list as a journey. But Central Park is just a riff I've had, a melody I've had in my for a long time. I've always liked. The funny part is my old tour. I've not talked to him in years. My old tour manager, John Portelli, used to be his tour manager of Warlock in Europe. I remember I played that to him once many years ago, and he goes, and he came, and he heard it from the other room. He came and goes, "That's really great, man." He goes, I go, "No," I said, "Thanks, man." He goes, "No, I mean that's really fucking great." So I never forgot how much it impacted him, and I was just fucking noodling around. So I had the structure, the. So I always had that finger picking, and so that was a Schecter guitar. But so yeah, it always stuck with me. So I felt great to put it on. It was cool to do something, just one track. That's one track. Boom, there it is. N.Y.C. Fuck it, buy it, like it. There you go.
And we have this saying in Poland, you can't teach an old dog a new tricks. So you seem to be proving this saying wrong because after all, you use the latest technological advances in the form of the Unreal Engine 5 in the
Oh
videos.
yeah, yeah.
So where did this idea to use this tool come from?
Well, with me, well, I don't know if I'm an old dog, but I'm always got old. I got plenty of tricks. Forget about it. That's another conversation. That's a six pack of the pizza. That's another conversation of what's coming next. Well, Marcus is cutting edge. My manager, like Adrenalizing Media, and he was working with Walter Schultz, and he's a VFX wizard. He won the Oscar for that Martin Scorsese film Hugo. He's got like 3 or 4 Emmys. So he's a he fucking knows all this computer shit. I won't claim to understand all of it. And Marcus is very cutting edge in that shit too. So the two of them together just came up with this whole fucking thing. And and we had some film stuff for ourselves. The Heaven and Hell bar we're playing in is actually a featured place in the N.R.C. universe, which is the ongoing stories of the movie Marcus has, which ties in with his comic strip and the sub series of all the characters and stuff as well. Because he's got like a whole series that's coming out. He just merged with some company in Argentina doing that. Guy's doing everything. Forget about it. So there's a lot of cool shit. So the Unreal Engine, they just created, and then they were creating shit that hadn't been done. And I'm like, holy shit, that's pretty fucking cool. And then everyone who's seen it's fucking loved it. So yeah, that's it's just that's the N.Y.C. way. That's the Adrenalizing Media way. That's the new fucking law of the land. You know what I'm saying?
And what is the
Stuff.
plot? What is the plot of official comic book? Because you appeared in NR Stories
Yeah.
Extreme.
Well, Adrenaline Media, the star is Munko Frinas. I'm saying it wrong, but the main character, Munkov, he comes back to find out his brother's been murdered, and he's a policeman and all this stuff. And the searching of that, finding out who betrayed him, who did this, and the elements of trying to figure that out, going through NR City. So he's as he travels through, NR City, the bar, he's looking for leads. He's got his partner, he's a cop, and the whole trail of how he figures out who's betrayed him, who did what, who's running the show there, good versus evil, and the trial that the book comic was definitely worth checking out. It was premiered at 2023 Comic Con. We premiered it there, in San Diego. And then I think the cover was done by Lucius Perillo, who does like Batman, Superman, Vampira, and all this shit. So it's some pretty shit. Then another guy, Ralph, drew some parts as well. This guy Ralph was really cool, and he does a lot of comics. Marcus is big in the comics. Marcus, of course, is Journalizing Media, which is the company behind me. Which, of course, now you met him a second ago. My manager, I'm attached to him at the hip on all this because he's been the biggest believer in what I'm doing, and supporter and all that stuff. So yeah, so the comic book, is like just cool as shit, So to be drawn in and all that, so. And then they're using my lyrics. And of course, when the movie gets shot, we'll actually appear in it. I told him I need a part in the movie. I got to go kill some people or throw someone through a window or something. I need some action. So yeah, it'll be cool. That's all in the works, man. Just movies and shit just take fucking forever to get going, but there's always a lot of shit moving on and doing. So right now we're in N.Y.C. mode, but there's a lot. That's always an ongoing thing. Which there's always something new coming up. So that'll be a whole other interview for sure.
And on the cover artworks of the singles, we have like an action figures of you and the other members of the band. So it's it's also like a homage to the 80s, like with all these action figures from G.I. Joe and all this stuff.
Sure, yeah. Well, if you haven't seen behind me, I collect like Matchbox toys. There's even my Poland stamp book right there, right where my finger is. That's a book just dedicated to Poland. So I'm a big collector of everything. Vintage toys. Stamps, guitars. Used to be muscle cars, but I had my mind with that for a while. But so yeah, I mean, anything that's cool and collectible looking that looks like a toy or something like that, I thought it was just cool as shit. And we've gotten a great response to that. That was something that Marcus had created.
And you feel the intensity in our live show, you said in the press release. So what about the concerts? Are any being booked?
Oh yeah, we're talking to people as we speak right now. I can't say who, what, and when, but we're talking to a whole bunch of people. We got booking agent in America right now, literally as we speak, talking to people. And then there's other people. Mark just telling me he's got meetings on Thursday and this and that. And the people we're working with in Europe, we have CMM, and we have they're doing all the stuff for us in Europe. Then we have John Freeman doing publicity here in America, Muncie Ritchie from Skateboard Marketing. So all these people all know all the people. We all know the same people. And obviously, we're lucky enough to have, the Warlock Wasp Metal Church names. That opens a few doors, obviously. So we're waiting for the right things, and we're talking now as we speak. That's the next step, to bring that live, and we will. So that's not a matter of if, but when, and sooner than later. Yes.
And are you planning to expand the lineup for live performances, for example, by adding another guitar? Because there are some songs like Let's Roll, which is gonna be hard to play on one guitar.
Actually, it won't be as hard as you think. With playing live, it's like, for example, think when you went and saw Van Halen, you went and saw Zeppelin. Not that I'm saying these bands, or Black Sabbath. There's no other guitar player, just Tony doing that, and essentially it's a three-piece by design. The way I make up for that is the way you embellish the song. You take the song, or it becomes the live version of the song. Or I'm not having tracks playing, but I don't mind if the drummer, if Stet has a sampler and hits a couple of cues for like a cool noise or a cool synth noise lifted directly from the record. So, for example, if you're talking about Let's Roll, those noises in the beginning, if I'm chugging the rhythm, and that's actually my guitar through a Zoom processor I was using at the time, then I could just sample that trick. And that's just like, 4 hits of a pad, and it fills in all I need. The rest is just, the band, and with the musicianship involved, we'll carve out a big enough sound. I'm not even worried about it. Because I have no, that's essentially just 3-piece. Just there you go. Just go for it. We'll fill in what we need here and there. No tracks, no backing this. Because Stet can sing, Steve can sing. Obviously, I'm up there screaming my brains out. So we have that stuff there. And Steve, he plays, he plays fucking great metal bass. And Stet's a monster on the drums. So excuse me, oh, I just burped. So talking too fucking fast. That's the Italian Irishman. Forget about it. So we got a lot of good shit. We'll fill it out live, and hopefully no one throws nothing at us. But they do, forget about it. No, it'll be fine. Like I said, we'll probably add a sampler in for a couple of tricks here and there for pre-recorded stuff. But for the most part, we'll be able to tear this up live.
And what about the set list? Did you think about it? Only N.Y.C songs, or you gonna throw like a cover or two?
Well, right now, it all depends on the show we're doing. For example, if we got a festival gig, they might tell you, hey, you got a half hour, you got 25 minutes, depending. If it's a headline show, then there's enough stuff to do like an hour and a half, whatever. You throw in a guitar solo, a drum solo, extend some jams. If a cover song, obviously, I'm not against, if it makes sense, obviously, Stats history and N.Y.C and Metal Church and my Warlock history. You never know, one of those songs could pop up. It's not totally required right now. Some promoters like that if you do that. So it really depends on advice from the booking agent, management, thinking about it. I'm not against it, but obviously the album's got more than enough meat on the bone. And it really depends on the gig. Are we an opening band? Are we a headlining slot? Is it a club gig where we own the night? Then yeah, we can just go fucking nuts. But if you got like 45 minutes on off, then it's a surgical strike, and still you'll leave your mark.
And this is all that I have prepared. So thank you very much for your time. I have a blast, and I heard many great stories. So at the end, I would like you to say some few words for Polish readers and Polish fans of heavy metal.
Yeah, well, hey, I appreciate all you guys. I hope to be in your country there playing soon, rocking out. Check out the N.Y.C album. Check out Metal Side. You'll find more about us here because Tomac's gonna write so much cool shit about us. It's gonna be fucking ridiculous. So I appreciate all you guys. Please check it out. N.Y.C is here, ready to fucking kick some ass. Thanks for your support. Appreciate it.
Again, thank you for your time and have a good day. Because what hour is in United
Now
States?
it's 1:30 in the afternoon.
Oh,
I'm in Los Angeles right now.
yeah. In Poland, it's almost like 10 p.m.
No, there you go. It's not too bad.
So again, thank you for your time and have
Oh
a good
yeah,
day.
thanks. I appreciate it, buddy. Great talking to you. Take care.
Bye.